Have you ever had that heart-stopping split second? You know the one, whether you're behind the wheel or just walking, where you suddenly realize someone wasn't seen? It is a truly chilling moment, and that moment is exactly what we're digging into today. The absolutely critical, but often really misunderstood, issue of pedestrian visibility.
And this quote, wow, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's such a stark reminder that a single moment, seeing someone just a fraction of a second too late, can change absolutely everything. It just shrinks a driver's window to react down to almost nothing.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about what researchers call the invisibility problem. Now, we tend to think of this as just a nighttime issue, right? But the reality is way more complicated. Poor visibility is a huge factor in accidents, whether it's day or night.
And just to give you an idea of the scale here, in certain conditions like heavy rain or thick fog, some studies show that a driver's visibility can drop by as much as 50%. I mean, think about that. That literally cuts their reaction time in half. That is a critical loss when every single millisecond counts.
And you know, it's not just the weather. The environment itself can kind of conspire against us. The sources we looked at call these visual traps. Things like poorly placed streetlights, cars parked in a way that creates a sudden blind spot, or even road designs that just don't consider a pedestrian's point of view. They all stack up to make people way harder to see. But it's not all about the environment. Our own actions play a massive role too. And sometimes, without even realizing it, we as pedestrians can accidentally make ourselves part of the problem.
So let's start with the one we all know but maybe don't take seriously enough. Wearing dark clothing at night. It sounds so obvious, but the data is just brutal. You basically become a ghost, you just vanish into the background, and a driver's perception time plummets. The fix is pretty simple. Bright neon colors for the day, and reflective gear at night that literally acts like a mirror, bouncing a car's headlights right back at them.
And then, of course, there's the modern problem, our phones. There's this wild and pretty scary phenomenon called inattentional blindness. This is where you can be looking in the right direction, but because you're distracted by a screen, your brain literally doesn't process the image of an oncoming car. It just highlights how important it is to be fully present and aware.
And how we cross the street makes a huge difference. Crossing outside of a crosswalk creates what one source called a cognitive hiccup for drivers. They're just not programmed to expect you there. But making eye contact, that's the golden ticket. It creates this vital, nonverbal contract. It's that silent confirmation. Yep, I see you and you see me. We're good.
Okay, we've seen the problems. So let's get to the good stuff, the solutions. The great news is there is so much that is in our control. So let's build out what you can think of as your personal safety toolkit, with stuff you can start doing immediately. We can break this all down into 3 really simple categories that cover your whole journey on foot. It starts with what you wear, then what you carry to make yourself pop, and finally the choices you make about how and where you walk. So during the day, it is all about maximum contrast. Think neon yellow, bright orange, or lime green against a gray urban background. But at night, the whole game changes. Your goal is to become a source of light yourself. That's why reflective vests and armbands are so incredible. A driver's brain is hardwired to notice moving points of light. When you add clip-on LEDs or even just carry a flashlight, you go from being a passive shape to an active, unmissable beacon.
And your choices start before you even walk out the door. Always use sidewalks if they're there, and stick to well-lit routes. I know that unlit shortcut might seem faster, but the research is crystal clear. The risk you take by walking into a visibility vacuum is just never worth the few minutes you might save.
All right, so now let's zoom out from our personal choices. Because safety isn't just up to the individual, right? It's also about designing our communities and our roads to be safer for everyone from the ground up.
You'd be surprised how much of an impact simple infrastructure changes can have. Better street lighting, for instance, isn't just about seeing potholes. It drastically increases the distance from which drivers can spot you. High visibility reflective crosswalks create these clear, predictable safe zones. And those traffic calming measures, like speed bumps, they do more than just annoy drivers. They physically force slower speeds, buying everybody precious seconds of reaction time.
And the solutions can get even more clever. Think about pedestrian refuge islands. They're a crucial safe spot in the middle of a wide, busy road. Curb extensions or bulb outs actually shorten the distance you have to spend in the street. But the really exciting stuff is the active systems, like flashing signs or lights embedded in the road that turn on when you cross. They're like a direct, impossible-to-miss alert system for drivers.
Now for what might be the most fascinating part of this whole story,
how technology is getting ready to completely change the game. We are moving way, way beyond simple reflective tape here.
At the very heart of this revolution is something called pedestrian detection. You can basically think of it as giving cars superhuman vision. It uses a whole suite of sensors, cameras, radar, LiDAR, and combines them with artificial intelligence to not just see a person, but to identify them as a person and even predict where they're going to move.
And this tech is pushing forward on two fronts at once. For us as individuals, we're starting to see things like smart clothing with built-in LEDs. But the biggest game changer is what's happening inside the car itself. You have systems like automatic emergency braking that can slam on the brakes if a driver doesn't react, and night vision systems that can see a person in the dark long before your headlights would.
The future looks even more connected. Imagine a system called Vehicle to Infrastructure, or V2I for short. With this, a traffic light could actually warn your car about a pedestrian stepping into the street around a blind corner. Information the car's own sensors could never get in time. I mean, the entire city effectively becomes one giant, interconnected safety network.
So, what does this all boil down to? It means safety is a shared responsibility. It's a mix of our personal choices, the way our communities are built, and the technology we're all starting to use. But what do you do when all of that fails in one critical moment? In that split second of panic, the sources offer some really clear, simple advice. First, get noticed. Wave your arms like a maniac, use your phone's flashlight, do whatever you can to break the driver's focus. Second, get away. Step back onto the sidewalk. Do not assume they're going to stop. And third, as a last resort, get loud. A shout might be that final alert that prevents a collision. And finally, your role in this doesn't end after a close call. If you notice a dangerous intersection, a burnout streetlight, anything, report it to your local authorities. Your own personal experience, your voice, can actually lead to real changes that protect your entire community.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. As cars get so smart that they can see us better than we can see them, what happens to our own personal responsibility to be visible? Does it get smaller? Or does it just change into something different? It's definitely something to think about as we all try to share the roads in this wild, increasingly connected world.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.